Hey there, and welcome to Authentically ADHD. I'm your host, Carmen, and I am so glad that you're here. This is a podcast where we get real about ADHD. No filters, no judgment, a safe space to explore and learn and grow. If you're here, it's because you want to take a deep dive into the world of ADHD, and trust me, we're going to have a lot of fun doing it. Now, you're probably wondering, why did I start this podcast? Well, in true ADHD fashion, it all started very impulsively. One day, I thought, I should start a podcast, especially with all this paperwork that I have and all these notes that I have trying to understand my own ADHD. And the next thing I knew, here I am, sharing thoughts with you. I don't know, 200, 100 episodes later? I don't know. I lose track of time. I'm time blind. Are you? Anyways, when you have ADHD, ideas come fast, and sometimes you just gotta roll with them. Honestly, this podcast was born out of my passion for understanding ADHD in a deeper way with the newest research. You see, pills don't teach skills. That's something I've learned over the years. Medication can help, and it's a great tool to use, but true growth, that comes from knowledge, understanding, and actionable skills. And so that's what I want to share with you. Research-backed insights, practical tips, and lived experiences of someone who's been there. Now, a little bit about me. I'm not just a host of this podcast. I'm also an early childhood special education teacher, which means I've spent years understanding how children learn, grow, and thrive in ways that work for them, especially when they're neurodiverse. And I'm also a certified life and performance coach, guiding people to unlock their full potential in both their personal and professional lives. But here's the thing that makes me a little different. I'm also a late diagnosed ADHDer. And on top of that, I self-identify as being on the autism spectrum. So when I talk about ADHD, it's not just from a professional perspective, it's from lived experience, because I get it. I know what it's like to feel like your brain is running at full speed while everyone else is moving at a different pace, and you have instructions that are in Japanese and upside down, and everybody else got them in their own language. Throughout this podcast, I'll share all kinds of insights about navigating life with ADHD, from the everyday struggles to the strengths that we can celebrate. We'll talk about everything from time management to relationships to self-advocacy, and all about how to live authentically in a world that often asks us to be anything but. Whether you have ADHD yourself or you want to understand it better, you are in the right place. So, let's get started. Hey there, my friend, and welcome back to another episode of Authentically ADHD. I am not gonna lie to you, this year has been hard, and I'm so glad for those of you that have stuck along with me, because the rest of the school year is gonna be even busier. So thank you for your patience and your grace as I work through this year and let out episodes when I can. Today, I had some inspo for this one because of the new year coming up. And I've talked about this before, but not in this much depth. As I go through this episode, I want to share with you that I've recently self-diagnosed myself as AuDHD, a person who has both ADHD and autism. What does that mean? Well, let's talk about it. Okay, a quick check-in. Have you ever felt like your brain has two different people sharing one body? One who's like, please, for the love of God, routine, predictability, same mug, same route, same show on repeat. And the other who's like, if I do the same thing twice, one more time, I will evaporate into the dust like a vampire in daylight. If yes, hello, welcome. You're in the right place. because today's episode is called Your Brain Isn't Broken, It's Patterned. Because I need you to hear this like it's a baseline in your chest. Your brain is not morally failing. Your brain is not lazy. And your brain is not too much. Your brain is patterned. And if you're AuDHD, aka autism and ADHD, your pattern can feel like a paradox factory that runs 24/7 with no off switch and a slightly rude customer service department. So, we're going to talk about what neurodivergence actually is, how ADHD and autism overlap, where they differ, and why AuDHD can feel like living inside of a contradiction. And then I'm going to give you real strategies that don't feel like you're being yelled at by a productivity guru who thinks just try harder is a nervous system plan. Are you ready? Let's get started. So, first, let's talk about neurodivergence and how it's not actually a personality test. It's not which quirky brain are you, and it's not I'm such an Aquarius, so I obviously can't do laundry. And I say that as a person who loves a good identity moment, right? Like we all love a good personality test or, those cute little things that say all the stuff about our horoscope that we totally relate to, but neurodiversity isn't that. Neurodiversity is the idea that humans' brains vary, like biodiversity, but for our minds. There isn't one quote-unquote correct way that a brain must work in order to be worthy. Being neurodivergent is a non-medical term people use when their brain develops or functions differently from what society calls typical. Now, this matters. Saying it's a difference does not erase disability. Some people are deeply disabled by ADHD and or autism. Some need significant supports, even for their entire lives. Some don't, and many fluctuate across the seasons of their lives. But the point is, difference is not the same thing as deficit. A patterned brain can be brilliant and still struggle, because a lot of suffering isn't just in the brain. It's the brain plus the environment and sprinkle in a little bit of nervous system. If the world is built for one nervous system style and you're running on a totally different operating system, you're going to feel like you're constantly living life on hard mode. And if you've spent your whole life trying to fix yourself into the version of you that makes other people comfortable, I just want to say that I see you, and that's exhausting. It's not a personal weakness. It's a chronic mismatch. Now, let's talk about ADHD versus autism. So this is where we're going to talk about the overlaps of ADHD and autism, the differences between ADHD and autism, and the reasons for why these things take such a long time. I mean, I'm 35 years old, and just now I'm someone who can say confidently, I definitely also have autism. Does it affect me to the point where I'm going to need support for the rest of my entire life? Absolutely not. But I have autism traits that are significant enough to reach the diagnosis scale. Now, we could talk about self-diagnosis and whatever, but to me, self-diagnosis is valid. So let's just leave that there. So let's do ADHD versus autism without turning it into a simplistic either or checklist, because real humans are not BuzzFeed quizzes. So first, let's talk about ADHD's core pattern. ADHD is a neurodevelopmental condition where the core struggles involve attention regulation, impulsivity, and executive functioning, planning, starting, stopping, shifting, organizing, time sense, working memory, the invisible stuff that makes life run. Important note here, ADHD is I can't pay attention. It is not being able to consistently regulate your attention, especially when you're bored, stressed, overwhelmed, understimulated, or overstimulated. One research-heavy way that people talk about ADHD is with the default mode interference idea. Basically, brain networks involved in the internal thought, they can intrude. I'm so sorry. Let's try that again. Basically, brain networks that are involved in internal thought can intrude when you're trying to stay on task. It's not the only model, but it does help explain why focus can feel like trying to hold water in your hands. So for some real life examples, you can focus for hours on something that you care about, but cannot start the thing that you also care about but feels really hard or looming. You lose time like it's a hobby, almost like you didn't develop an internal clock. You forget what you're doing while you're doing it. You forget your water bottle and spend 20 minutes looking for it when it was literally right in front of you. You could be highly intelligent and still struggle with basic tasks because executive function does not equal IQ. Now let's go into autism and its core pattern. Autism is also neurodevelopmental. Clinically, it involves differences in social communication and interaction across context, restricted or repetitive patterns like routines, sameness, focused interests, stimming, etc. Also, and this is big, many autistic people experience sensory processing differences. The world can be too loud, too bright, and too unpredictable, and sometimes not enough, and you seek sensation. Researchers also explore prediction-based models, how the brain learns patterns and predicts what's next, and how differences in the prediction and updating may relate to autistic experience. It's super nuanced, and not every study supports every claim, but it's a helpful lens for why uncertainty can feel physically stressful. Some real-life autism examples include that social rules feel like invisible ink that you have to decode. You may crave clarity and directness and feel drained by ambiguity. Transitions can hit like a wall. Or you might have deep, intense interests that feel super regulating and grounding. So then, here's the overlap and why it's confusing. ADHD and autism can both include sensory sensitivity, emotional overwhelm, social exhaustion, executive dysfunction, hyperfocus, body repetitive movements, aka stimming or fidgeting, and burnout. So yes, the overlap is real, which is going to bring us to the main character of today's episode, the AuDHD overlap, the double bind, and why it's missed. But first, let's hear a word from our sponsors and a new message that I have for you. Okay, tiny intermission, because if this podcast is helping your brain feel a little more understood, I want you to know that there is a whole extra layer of support waiting for you on my Substack. That's where I publish this podcast, and usually you can get the podcast there first. But it's not just a podcast drop area. I've started writing blogs there too, which means you get deeper dives and that's what's actually happening in my brain explanations. Plus a ton of practical tools you can actually use when your executive function is doing the thing where it simply leaves the chat. And there are reflection journal prompts on a lot of my most recent blogs. Here's why I'm most obsessed with Substack. Because first of all, it's a neurodivergent friendly by design. You can read posts when you want to skim. You can listen when reading is too much. And for the most part, I include graphics most of the time because we deserve information in formats that don't require suffering. So here is your invitation. Come subscribe on Substack. It's free to join, and if you decide to become a paid member of mine, you'll get even more bonus resources, extra content, and additional supports that I'm building specifically for us neurodivergent brains. Subscribe free or go paid if you want the director's cut plus the toolbox. Either way, I'm really glad you're here. Hey there. If you're looking for a game changer in managing your ADHD, let me tell you about something that's made a huge impact on my life. Focused, the adult ADHD group coaching program by Kristen Carter. This isn't just another program. It's a community. It's a roadmap. It's a lifeline for adults with ADHD who want to thrive. Inside of Focus, you'll find weekly coaching calls with Kristen packed with actionable insights, a supportive community of adults who get it. They get what it's like to live with ADHD. You'll get tools and strategies that actually work for our brains. No fluff, just real results. I've been a part of Focus for over a year, and let me tell you, it's where I've learned so much of what I share with you on Authentically ADHD. It's been a game changer for me, and I think it could be for you too. And here's the best part. If you use my link to join, we both save money. It's a win-win. So if you've been looking for the right ADHD support, this is your sign to check it out. Head to the link in my show notes to learn more and sign up. Let's thrive together with tools and support that we need to succeed. Are you also loving what we're doing on Authentically ADHD but want to take your experience to the next level? Well, I have got something for you. Introducing the Authentically ADHD Patreon, your VIP pass to the ultimate ADHD support hub. As a Patreon member, you'll unlock exclusive perks like early access to every single episode, hear it before anyone else does, a treasure trove of resources that I've made, tools, guides, and worksheets to help you thrive in everyday aspects of life, direct coaching opportunities with me designed to help you harness your ADHD powers, and the cherry on top, an incredible community of like-minded individuals who just get it. You're not alone on this journey, and together we can be unstoppable. By joining Patreon, you're not just supporting the podcast, you're fueling a movement. Together, we're breaking stigmas, embracing authenticity, and creating a world where ADHD is seen as a strength and not just a struggle. So what are you waiting for? Head over to patreon.com/authenticallyADHD and join the family today. Let's keep growing, thriving, and showing up authentically together. Hope to see you over there. Back to the show. So let's get back to the double blind, the AuDHD, the overlap, and why it's usually missed. So as we have talked about, AuDHD is shorthand for being both autistic and ADHD. It is not actually a separate DSM diagnosis label. It's actually something that they just decided could co-occur together in 2013. But it's a very real lived experience. And historically, here's why many adults don't get recognized or didn't before. Because before the DSM-5, autism could prevent someone from also being diagnosed with ADHD, even though many people clearly had both. The DSM-5 changed that, acknowledging the reality of co-occurrence. Co-occurrence is common enough that researchers and clinicians have been studying it heavily. Some reviews discuss high overlap rates. Numbers vary by study and by method, but the key point is this is not a rare thing. People have ADHD and autism a lot. And I think the percentages even go up to about 60% of people with ADHD also have autism, and vice versa. So what does this look like? ADHD traits can mask autism traits, so you seem spontaneous and social until you crash. Then, autism traits can also mask ADHD traits. You seem organized because you built these rigid systems until the system breaks and chaos floods the house. You can be sensory avoidant and sensory seeking at the same time. You crave routine and you crave novelty. The AuDHD often feels like living in a brain that says, I need sameness, I need dopamine, I need quiet, I need stimulation, I need certainty, I need freedom. And they're all yelling at once. And loud. They're yelling loud, all at once, all at you. No, they're just yelling it. So when people say, but you don't seem autistic or you don't look like you have ADHD, sometimes what they're actually noticing are your traits that kind of play tug of war, right? So here's some paradox examples. Routine versus novelty. Autism, same breakfast, same spoon. ADHD, if I eat the same breakfast again, I will emotionally file for divorce. Real life, you create the perfect morning routine and it works for 4 days. And on day 5, your brain wakes up and goes, okay, we actually hate that now. Not because you're flaky and not because of anything that has to do with your personality, but because of the need for predictability and the need for stimulation are both legitimate. Then there's paradox 2, social craving versus social cost. So here's the thing about being social and having these disorders, right? Being social is super hard when you have autism. But when you have both ADHD and autism, your ADHD brain is just something that never really... Let me start that again. There is social craving, but then there's a cost to being social because we crave to be social as human beings, and being in community is just something that is healing for all of us. And it's great, and you want to be social. You want to go out with your friends, but afterwards you're hitting a wall after all the small talk and the things that you have to do to mask or camouflage. You crash when you get home, and that's the social cost. Sometimes you can't go out or be with other people, or you snap at loved ones for a certain amount of time after you have drained your social battery, and that's just how it goes sometimes when you have ADHD. And then there is the other paradox of somebody who has ADHD and autism, and you make this very rigid plan, right? And you go through this plan, and then you realize all the things that you have to use in order to execute the plan, like working memory and prioritization and planning. And then your brain is just like, that's like 12,000 tasks. No, thank you. And it stops. The motivation just drops out of you. Then there's justice sensitivity and impulsivity. You notice something unfair. Your body becomes a courtroom. ADHD makes you say it immediately. Autism makes you say it precisely. And suddenly, everyone is uncomfortable. And you're like, what did I do? I brought facts. We take things very literally, and we tend not to have a social filter. So sometimes we sound really blunt when we're coming at somebody with facts. And really, that's not what they wanted. They wanted some comfort or something a little bit less uncomfortable. And we just brought the cold, hard, uncomfortable facts. It's not that enjoyable for all people. Then the I'm fine lie. A lot of ADHD adults become world class at looking fine. Not because it is fine, because it's practiced. We hold it together all day, and then we get home and collapse like a puppet whose strings got cut. It's not being dramatic, it's nervous system math. Now, we've talked about what ADHD is, what autism is, how they overlap, and what it looks like to have both together. So let's look at some strategies and tools that actually work, that are AuDHD friendly, reality based, and not built on shaming yourself. Rule number 1, build rails, not cages. A cage is a rigid routine that breaks the second you miss a step. Rails are guiding tracks that keep you moving even on messy days. So do this. Create 3 anchors, not a full schedule. Anchor number 1, start. Water, meds, protein, or any first 5 minutes visual or ritual that you can think of that will help you start your day. Anchor number 2, midday reset. Sensory check, movement, hydration. Maybe something to eat if you want to add that, but try to keep it to 3 things. At night, anchor 3, landing. Dim lights, predictable wind down cue, and also, I would add to this, doing a brain dump, especially if you have trouble sleeping at night. If you miss an anchor, you don't throw away the day. This is why this mindset is so great, because you just grab the next rail. Rotate instead of routine. AuDHD often needs predictability in category and then novelty in options. So instead of one rigid breakfast, do a breakfast rotation menu. 5 safe breakfasts, 3 no-cook defaults, and 2 my brain is fried emergency options. Do the same for outfits, playlists, chores. It's not indecision, it's accommodating the paradox. For example, sometimes I always have a podcast in my ear. Sometimes it's an audiobook, sometimes it's music, and sometimes it's a TV show. That's just how I get a lot of my stuff done. Rule number 3, sensory first, then strategy. If your nervous system is in siren mode, no planner hack will work. So here's a 2-minute reset. Change the input. Step away, dim the lights, get earplugs. And number 2, add steady sensation. Pressure, something cold to sip on, gum, a textured object or fidget. And 3, long exhale. Longer in than out. So you're not calming down necessarily, you're changing states. Rule number 4, externalize executive function, because willpower is not storage. Executive function can tank under stress in ADHD and autism, so stop trying to remember harder and instead externalize these things in your brain. Clocks everywhere, visual timers, one-step checklists, landing pads, things, for keys, meds, your bag, pre-decisions. If it's Tuesday, I do this. Or if it's raining, I do that. If it only has to live in your head, it will get evicted. Believe me, I've become a victim of it's just part of my environment now too many times to give this advice with genuine, please do this. Rule number 5, transition protocol. Gentle, not militant. Transitions can be brutal because they require stopping, switching, sensory changes, and decision making. So here's a 5-minute bridge. Close the old task. So write 1 sentence down in your journal, wherever you want to write it. Next, I'm going to start by then use the body bridge. Stand, get some water, stretch your muscles, and then a 2-minute micro start on the new task so it doesn't look like a cliff. Rule number 6, scripts are accessibility tools. Scripts are not fake, and using them does not make you fake. They're scaffolding and they're support. Steal these if they work for you. I really want to, but my brain just can't today. Can we reschedule? Hey, could you just tell me what the plan is and how long we are staying? I'm going to regulate. and I'm going to go quiet while I regulate. It's not because I'm mad. I need a minute to process before I answer that. And rule number 7, stop treating burnout like a personal failure. Burnout often comes from masking chronic mismatch, sensory load, and executive demand. You don't fix burnout with hustle. That's like adding gasoline to a fire. You fix it with less demand and more support. So what drains you that you keep calling normal? Where are you denying yourself accommodations because you don't want to look like you're not trying? And what would sustainability look like? Literally. Like, what would that look like this week? So here's what I want you to take with you. Your brain is not broken. It's patterned. And patterned brains don't need shame. They need fit. They need support. They need design. And if this episode hit you in the chest a little bit, take a deep breath. You're not behind. You're not defective. You're learning your pattern. And that's not a small thing. That's a homecoming. If you want, share this episode with a friend who keeps calling themselves too much. If you liked it a lot, share it on your socials. And don't forget to tag me at authenticallyadhd_podcast. If you're new here, welcome. You're safe, you're seen, and as always, this is educational, not medical advice. So if you're seeking diagnosis or support, a qualified clinician can help you sort out what's AuDHD and what's trauma, anxiety, sleep, hormones, or burnout, wearing a trench coat. So until next time, stay authentic, and we will talk soon.